entertainment, and anything that matters to you. Feel free to call Brian at 702-221-7283.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Now pushing the limits, here's Brian Shapiro.
What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. It is Pushing the Limits. I'm so glad that all of you have decided to join us this morning. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. I know I did. And we have a lot to get to today. Certainly great guest lineup and a lot of important topics to discuss with you. A little bit of sports, a little bit of politics, a little bit of everything. That's what we do here. We're also broadcasting live on YouTube, on the PTL Vegas YouTube page, on the Facebook fan page, PTL Vegas Facebook, on my Twitter page, which is Pushing Limits LV, and of course on the AM dial, KSHP 1400. Coming up in hour number 2, we're going to be speaking to a friend of mine. I haven't talked to him on this show in quite a while. He's a nationally syndicated host for Fox Sports Radio. Bernie Fratto will be joining us, talk about the national and local sports landscape with him. We got some great college basketball we saw over the weekend here, including UNLV with a win at MGM Grand against Washington State. We're going to talk about that. Bobby Hurley is in town tonight. Looking forward to some college basketball games. Creighton lost to BYU here in Vegas over the weekend. A lot of college basketball to talk about. Of course, the Raiders off this weekend after their abysmal loss on Thursday. We'll get into that a little bit. And, of course, moving forward, the Raiders next week at home against Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. We'll get to that story, some updates on the Brittany Griner situation. We are now learning about a handshake she had with that arms dealer. He's speaking out on the interaction he had with Brittany Griner and how she reacted on the plane. So we'll talk a little bit about that and get into that as well. And, of course, this Chris Beard story is unbelievable, shocking. Chris Beard, if you haven't been following the news this morning, has been arrested on domestic violence charges, 3rd degree, which is very serious. He may never coach college basketball again. We'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. And, of course, the story about this reporter who was reporting on the World Cup and at his media seat just dies out of nowhere. Some people, including members of his family, think it was murder. I'll explain why. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the program as well. So, wow, we have a lot to get to today, a lot of topics to talk about. And, of course, what better person to do that than the caveman Keno professional himself who joins me every Monday. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. Chris Wynn. How's it going, Chris?
It's going great, Brian. Good to join you. Of course, jam-packed weekend as usual across the sports spectrum here in Vegas. But as you alluded to already, as far as the stories that we're going to be addressing, very troubling situation regarding, look, we watched a lot of college basketball over the weekend, right, Brian? But this is a story that off the court that kind of trumps everything when it comes to the situation in the Lone Star State. Yeah,
we'll definitely get to that in a couple minutes. Quick weekend rundown for you. I wanted to share this story with you. So there's a college basketball tournament in town. And I'm not talking about the one UNLV was in, which was great, by the way, and watching Arizona, Indiana. Arizona is unbelievable. I was so impressed with them. And Indiana's a pretty good team as well, but that was fun. There's another tournament in town, and there's an organizer of that tournament. And I was told by my friend Jim Gemma, who, of course, does a great job as communications director for the Aviators. Absolutely. Jim's a great guy, loyal listener of the show. Jim said I could say this. One of Jim Gemma's friends is organizing a tournament. And I emailed this person over the weekend and said, hey, I need a credential to cover Creighton BYU, right? Loyola.
Yeah, we've dealt with this person many times throughout the years when it comes to getting credentialed here at sporting events in Las Vegas.
Similar to my Central Connecticut State University story. I was access denied.
It was packed, jam-packed.
I was told it was jam-packed. Now, because I am friends with some people like Todd Simon, who happens to be the head coach of Southern Utah, who was in this tournament. And by the way, I went to a shoot around. They won. They beat Cal Fullerton, which is a good win for them because Cal Fullerton was in the NCAA tournament last year. So this is a good win for them. With some of my connections, I was still able to get a pass. Access denied. So I was told that the media section was completely full. This is how ridiculous the person is that told me this. There was no media there. There were like 20 seats assigned that for NBA scouts. I think there was one NBA scout there. Empty seats everywhere, okay? And I'm like, what the hell is this person? This is another person that doesn't like Shapiro. Like, what is going on?
What is it with you, Shap? You got Mark and PTL Nation out there. This guy over here is not You got some adversaries, my friend, here in Vegas.
Well,
just causing you friction across the board.
But luckily,
when it comes to getting your media credential access, guy.
What's
going on?
I never have problems.
What are you doing, chap? What are you doing?
In Vegas, I never have problem with credentials. You know that.
Yeah.
Central Connecticut State University, the athletic director actually apologized to me because the idiot that's the SID over there has no idea what he's doing.
We're very sorry, Mr. Shapiro. It's only for working media, please.
Yeah. What do you think I am, you jackass?
Credentials for working media to our Blue Devil games at Central Connecticut State
What
University.
Do you think I am, you idiot? Anyway, I will be going to the event tonight, but I just thought I would share that story that the person running the event has no idea what they're doing. Anyway, I had a chance to have a conversation with the former NBA All-Star himself, Mike Miller, at that tournament in the backstage area. You know, he's sitting there, and Mike's been on my show before when I did the Vegas take. And of course, I'm friends with his brother, Ryan Miller, who's now an assistant coach at Creighton. I didn't even know that, by the way. I thought he was still at TCU. So I'm having a conversation with Mike Miller, legend, great career, great college career at Florida, even better NBA career. I mean,
he played in the national championship game against Michigan State back in 2000 when the Spartans won the championship.
What a shooter. What a phenomenal player he was. And what a great guy. So we're having a conversation. I said, Mike, by the way, all due respect to Kevin Kruger. I'm not talking about Kevin's doing a wonderful job with the UNLV program. I couldn't be happier for him. I'm talking about when they hired TJ Otzelberger. Okay. And I know TJ had a good year last year, but he never wanted to be here. And I'm joking with Mike. I'm like, Mike, I really wanted to see you be the coach here. And he's like, they chose some guy named Otzelberger over me. And we just started laughing and having a good time. He runs his own media company now, which is kind of cool. He runs his own agency.
Right.
And he was in town to see his brother, Ryan, and who doesn't like coming to Vegas? So he asked me, how's Kevin Kruger doing? And I was honest with him. I said, Kevin's doing pretty darn good. He's got these guys playing tough defense. Their identity is very similar to his father, Lon, hard defense and rebound. And then we'll worry about the offense later. By the way, we'll talk about this later on, but the offense is getting a lot better. The flow is getting better. So anyway, it was really fun to talk to Mike Miller. Good guy, great player. We talked about his days on USA basketball and scrimmaging with LeBron and playing with Kobe. So that was really cool. VGK game last night, tough loss. A lot of guys out.
One of the best teams in the NHL they faced last night.
The Boston Bruins. The Boston Bruins are a very good hockey team, and they were very healthy. So the Knights competed, but I wouldn't look too much into this game because the Knights had a lot of guys out. But fun Vegas weekend, fun sporting weekend, and we got some more fun tonight with some college hoops action down at Mandalay Bay. It's always fun to root against Bobby Hurley, and I will be doing that tonight. With
folks in Vegas love to root against Bobby, right?
Yes.
And all things Dukish.
So 4 pretty good teams. So Creighton in action against Arizona State. Creighton in desperate need of a win. They just lost to BYU. That was a very entertaining game in Vegas. So Creighton Arizona State's going to be a very good game, and I'm very interested to watch the second game. New Mexico's undefeated, I believe. Richard Pitino is doing a heck of a job over there. Pitino Jr. New Mexico, a pretty good team in the Mountain West. So they'll be playing San Francisco, the Dons.
Yes.
Another pretty good basketball team that UNLV faces in their next game next weekend. So a couple good college basketball games we'll be going to.
Yeah,
tonight.
so Brian, if I'm not mistaken, there are 3 teams in the Mountain West currently undefeated in New Mexico, UNLV, and of course, as you met, Utah State as well, too.
Yeah.
So pretty impressive.
Yeah, Utah State.
Some local conference squads still hold it down strong in college basketball.
So really looking forward to these games tonight. I love college basketball, so we're going to be going.
Yeah, you're a college basketball team.
Love it. So we're going to be going and watching tonight. So I want to talk to you about a story this morning that just broke, and it happened in the wee hours in the middle of the night, and it's very troubling. And this was a man who was the UNLV basketball coach for about a week, and then he decided to go to Texas Tech. I'm talking about Chris Beard. He was arrested this morning on very serious felony domestic violence charges. Now, why do I say serious? He was arrested by police in Austin, Texas. He was booked at around 4 o'clock in the morning on a 3rd-degree charge, which is a very serious charge of assault of a family household member, impeding breathing circulation, which means he was strangling somebody allegedly close to somebody losing their life. I mean, that's really what we're talking about here. Apparently there was a disturbance call by a family member, somebody close to Beard. Officers were dispatched to the 1900 block of Vista Lane shortly after midnight. The police department defines a hotshot call as incidents which are in progress that are an immediate threat to life and public safety. That is very serious. Now it's interesting because Beard's attorney is saying he's 100% innocent of these charges. I'm not buying that at all. His attorney is saying he should never have been arrested. The person who filed the complaint wanted him released immediately on all charges. I'm not buying that either. The school has immediately put him on suspension. There is not a lot of other information that we know. But I will say this. While cops sometimes make mistakes, I am not buying that this was a mistake and Coach Beard did absolutely nothing wrong. And let me be very clear on this. If in fact this is true, the problem we have here is there's not going to be any video evidence of the assault allegedly taking place. And if a family member who was assaulted by Beard wants the charges dropped, they probably will be dropped. But I'm going to tell you this right now. If in fact this is true, and I believe this is true, I don't think this was a mistake by officers. If in fact he strangled a member of his family in a domestic dispute, I don't believe Beard should be allowed to coach at the college basketball level ever again. Now, we are going to find out more information. I doubt he's innocent. And as more information comes out, this is a terrible look for Beard. His reputation will always be tarnished, even if he is found innocent of these charges. The one thing going for Beard is this. He's a celebrity. He has a lot of money. He has the best attorneys at his side. And I would imagine there's no video evidence, and it's a family member. And we know how these things happen. A family member, a friend, whatever the case, might say, I want the charges dropped. Maybe there was drinking involved. I don't know. That's all speculation. What I do know is Beard is behind bars right now. I don't think he's been released yet. These are very serious charges. Third-degree charges are very serious. And in the language, in the police report, they're talking about somebody not being able to breathe, which would lead you to believe that it had to be some sort of strangulation. I don't believe they just arrested him for no reason. I'm sure there were witnesses in the home that said that he did it. I'm sure that's why the arrest took place. We are going to get more information as the hours, days, and weeks, and maybe even months come. But right now, Coach Beard is suspended indefinitely. We don't know if and when he will ever come back. And we need more information. But this is a big story. It's very sad. And I feel for his family. And again, as I mentioned before, and I mentioned again, if this is true, which I believe it is, I tend to believe the police when it comes to these sorts of situations. I don't care what Beard's attorney says. She's going to say whatever she can to try to defend him. He should not be allowed to coach college basketball ever again, if in fact he is convicted of this charge.
No question that given the suddenness of this, right, how quickly this has transpired and has come to the forefront. As far as the news, I'm going to resign judgment as far as, making my assessment as to whether or not I think he's guilty or not guilty until the information comes out, until we actually see, right, the rubber meets the road, and we actually see exactly the details and the evidence surrounding this scenario. But make no mistake about it, Brian, this has absolutely zero to do with basketball at this point, or zero to do with sports, period. It's a Chris Beard as a private citizen type of horrific situation and his family. Yes. And look, I mean, I get, the whole celebrity thing, and I get, he was, there's an element of this of a fallen star, essentially, right? Someone who had a lot of potential, someone who was a rising star in the coaching ranks when it came to college basketball coaches. And then it's a kind of a fall from grace, right? There's an element of that to this that comes into play. But at the end of the day, it's about facing consequences for something that could be absolutely horrific on every level. And again, yes, it's one of those situations where I am very hesitant to speculate as to his guilt or innocence. I just want the facts to play out, right? The police, the law enforcement to do their due diligence and to handle the situation in a correct way in which we can find out exactly what happened. And to your point regarding whether or not the party decides to drop charges, look, there's a lot. Public opinion has a lot to do with these kind of cases, right? Because especially when you see any kind of physical damage to the individual, right? We saw that case that happened here in Las Vegas with that MMA fighter, right? And that woman that was severely beaten almost to death, right? And that man, I don't even remember his name. This is like 4 or 5 years ago, ends up going to prison.
He's still in jail.
Yeah, he's still in jail.
Attempted murder.
Because it was attempted murder, essentially.
Yep.
That's immediately what came to my mind when I heard this Chris Beard story. Because, look, I mean, I would expect that law enforcement is going to have some type of physical evidence, right? Photographs, things that have taken place with the woman, or some type of hardcore evidence that's going to prove exactly what happened here. And it's not going to be one of those deals where you can just, just poo-poo it and have somebody say, oh, no, I just want to drop the charges, because it could be something that's just absolutely horrible that has taken place here. So again, that combined with the public opinion kind of aspect of this, and this, as you pointed out, the celebrity, he's a major college basketball coach that has some notoriety. I think this makes it even a worse story from the forefront.
So the university has put out, Texas has put out, they haven't said much, but here's what they have said besides suspending him. They said the university is aware of the situation regarding Chris Beard. We are continuing to gather information and monitoring the legal process. Interestingly enough, they actually have a game tonight against Rice. They actually have a basketball game tonight. So I would imagine the assistant coach will be the interim coach in the meantime. And
we haven't even addressed, right, the public, the public situation as far as the university is concerned, right? The public relations aspect of this, which is also horrible for the university as well.
Well, yeah, what I was going to say was, what is telling to me about this is a police report. And when you look at a police report, you have to look at the language of the police report.
Yeah.
And the language says assault of a family household member impeding breathing circulation or strangulation.
It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out, right, Brian? Apparently either one of his kids or his wife or a relative, he strangled, or there was some type of physical violence that took place. Don't take a rocket scientist.
Let me just start over. Let me just start over again here. I just want to finish.
We understand what you're saying, though.
Yeah, well, I just want to finish what I was saying. So in the police report, it says assault of a family household member impeding breathing circulation or strangulation.
Yes.
Now, in my 10 years of being a reporter and looking at police reports and covering all sorts of different cases, I can tell you this based on my experience. A police officer or police officers do not arrest somebody unless there is more than enough sufficient evidence to do so, because this is a very serious charge. I can tell you what most likely happened there is that there was somebody in the household that had injuries, probably on their throat, and somebody, either the victim or somebody else in the household, said that Chris Beard did it. That's most likely what happened. Police don't just arrest somebody. So his attorney is a buffoon. They don't just, and if there are pictures, and I am sure that police took pictures, I am pretty sure that there is evidence. And when we see that evidence, when we are going to see those pictures, when it does come out, oh boy, it's going to be really bad for Chris Beard. Now, if there are no pictures and there is no physical evidence, then he'll have a case. But until then, I can tell you, it is very difficult to get a third-degree charge of assault unless there is more than enough sufficient evidence to do so. So we will have to wait and see how this plays out. It's obviously very serious. I've heard rumors from other coaches that I've talked to that Beard likes to drink. That is certainly not an excuse to ever put your hands on anybody.
Yeah.
But I would suspect that there was probably alcohol involved. And again, that's speculation. He is still in jail right now. He hasn't even gotten bail yet. So he's probably going to have to appear in court, I would imagine. And then they'll have to post bail. But this is bad. I remember, even though it was a completely different circumstance, very different, but I remember the Rick Pitino situation became public, and that was basically cheating on his wife, having sex with a waitress, in a bathroom in a restaurant. But, there was a line there where he wasn't necessarily breaking the law, but certainly all that became public. And now he's coaching, look at where his coaching career has been since, right? I mean, he had some very good years at Louisville. Now he's at Iona. But, and that wasn't even really breaking the law. It was just, there was a lawsuit and everything else. This is very different circumstance. This is extremely serious. So moving forward, we're going to have to give it some time and get some more information. But as I said before, and I'll say one more time, Chris, if this is true, if in fact he put his hands on somebody on their neck and did what he did, which allegedly is what police are saying he did, I do not believe he should ever be allowed to coach college basketball ever again. I don't believe he's completely innocent, but even if he is, which I don't believe for 1 second, but if he is innocent and or at the end, maybe you still think he's guilty, but he's not charged or convicted, I should say, of a crime, this still tarnishes his career forever. We are always going to remember this, whether he's innocent of all charges or not. So that's my feeling on the whole situation, and we need to give it a little bit of air and a little bit of time and get more information, but it does not look good for Chris Beard.
Well, that's the big key we need to, you sit back and let the law enforcement do their job and cross all the T's
right
and dot all the I's with respect to the evidence. And then we can move forward from there. Yes, everything you said is true regarding his career. His career essentially will be over if he is convicted of this. It would be highly problematic for any university or college to offer offer Chris Beard another.
Well, let me ask you a question about that.
Like this
let me get your opinion on that. And it's an if. But if he is convicted, if he's guilty,
right?
If we forget about even if he's convicted, if we see actual pictures of hypothetically, I'm talking if a woman with marks on her throat, do you think he should ever be allowed to coach college basketball again?
Well, personally, my own personal opinion, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And it goes without saying, it's clearly obvious to me. If there's pictures and if there, if the evidence plays out that he actually did commit this horrific crime, which it is, it's a crime, it's a felony. It's, it's something that he's going to have to, he's going to be, have to face the music on when it comes to punishment. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He should absolutely never be able to be in a position to coach young men again at the college or at any level.
Yeah.
So,
well, obviously I agree.
That goes without saying.
Obviously I agree with that.
Yeah.
And, when you're a head basketball coach, first of all, it doesn't matter what you do for work, whether you're unemployed, you put your hands on somebody, you strangle somebody. If in fact he did do that, it's unbelievably horrific. When you are the head coach of anybody and you're leading a bunch of young women or young men, whatever the case may be,
mm-hmm.
and you're in a leadership position, it's embarrassing. It's disgusting. And what type of example are you setting for the people? That's the thing. How could you ever be in another leadership position if in fact he's guilty? So we'll have to wait and see what happens. We'll take a break. He's Chris Wynn. I'm Brian Shapiro. We're going to take a break. When we come back, a very suspicious death, a very, very prominent member of the media. His name is Brett Wall, and he's been a journalist for, 25, 30 years. He dies covering the World Cup, but there are a lot of extenuating circumstances as to how he died and how he could have died. We're going to talk about that. Take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You are listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly, a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555. Hey, everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll They'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site X-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on oh 0554. Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly, a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555. All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Interesting guests lined up this week. Some good ones. UNLV's athletic director, Mr. Harper, Eric Harper, will be joining us on Wednesday. Interested to talk to him about, of course, the new football hire and reasons for why he fired Coach Arroyo. You know, he's alluded to that. I want to dig deeper into that. So he'll be joining us on Wednesday. Tomorrow, unless he cancels on me, that has happened from time to time. Roger Stone is supposed to be joining me tomorrow.
Oh, boy.
He was pardoned by Donald Trump, and he's a controversial figure to say the least. He's made some interesting statements about Brittany Griner over the last couple of days. So he will be joining us tomorrow. Michelle Mortensen will be joining us, by the way, in studio tomorrow as well. Thomas Moskal will be joining us on Wednesday. He'll give us a little bit of legal expertise, certainly on the Chris Beard situation. So great guests lined up towards the remainder of the week. Also, the head coach of the new professional lacrosse team.
The Desert Dogs.
Yeah, the Desert Dogs. Coach Williams will be joining us on the show Thursday, and they have their first game ever on Friday. So looking forward to that. Some great guests lined up the remainder of the week. So this is a very difficult story to talk about because I met Grant Law in Las Vegas. I actually met him in Las Vegas. It was many years ago. It was when the USA basketball team was practicing here. I knew who he was, and I shook his hand. Really nice guy. This was the team with LeBron and Kobe and Melo and all those guys. He was here for the FIBAs. The FIBAs were here where USA actually had to qualify just to play in the Olympics. And Grant was here covering that. And as I said, I knew who he was because he's a very, very good writer, really good at what he did. And I just shook his hand and we said hello to him. I said, I really appreciate your work. He said, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. What do you do here in Vegas? Just a really pleasant, short conversation. Really nice guy. That was my only interaction I ever had with him. So he's covering the World Cup. His brother's gay, openly. So Grant, being a supportive brother and being a good person that I know he was, he wore a shirt with a rainbow on it, kind of, the pro-LGBTQ, which some people in that country and other countries don't like very much. That was number one.
In the Middle East.
Yes, in the Middle East. And over the course of the last few weeks, he's had gotten into some legal trouble there with some of the people there. And he's also, I shouldn't say gone after, but criticized members of the government, right? They can't like that very much either. And he had recently, 24 hours before his death, he wrote an article about certain members of the government and things he opposed and so on and so forth. So he came down with a case of bronchitis flu. He had talked about it on social media. He was in the hospital a week prior to his death, but then he said he was feeling much better and they put him on antibiotics. And the last couple of days, he was posting a lot of stuff on social media. He said he was feeling back to normal. I believe those are the words that he used. He drops dead, for lack of a better term, in his media seat at the World Cup, which is beyond bizarre. His brother seems to think he was murdered. Here's my opinion on this whole situation, Chris, and then you give us yours. My opinion is this. We might never know for sure what happened. But the circumstances surrounding his death, apparently he had never been. Is it possible that he had a heart attack? They're claiming he had a heart attack. Is that possible? Sure, of course it's possible. But if I had to bet on what took place here, I would say that he was murdered, maybe poisoned, whatever the case may be. He has all these issues going on with the government there. He's wearing this pro-LGBTQ shirt, which a lot of people have a problem with there. We know in some of these countries, if you're even caught being gay, you can be killed. So all this controversy surrounding him, and then in a day or two, he's dead. I'm sorry. I'm screaming foul play here, and we'll probably never know the truth. Obviously, my thoughts and prayers go out to his family. LeBron James was speaking about his death because when LeBron was on the front of Sports Illustrated, when he was like 18 years old, it was Grant that did that story, and LeBron has fond memories of that, and he spoke about it. I haven't heard anybody say anything negative about this guy. He was just really good at his job, and he was just a nice guy. It's a tragedy, but what the hell happened out there? I want to know what the hell happened out there. And we people need to retrace every single one of his steps and who he was in contact with before he died.
Well, here's the deal. We can connect the dots, right? Eventually, I would expect there's going to be an autopsy at some point.
Maybe not.
Where here in the United, no, back here in the United States.
I hope so.
Regarding exactly what it is that he passed away from. We now speculation regarding heart attack or complications with bronchitis. I'm somebody that has suffered from bronchitis numerous times. I'm a little bit older than Grant was. Grant's in his late 40s at the time. So is it completely preposterous that he could have passed away from some type of complications like that or a heart attack? Absolutely. It's possible, I guess. But with everything surrounding this and with the thought in a lot of our heads when it comes to the fishiness of this, right, and the speculation, what do we think about? We think about situations like in Russia, right, where Vladimir Putin and his government have had dissidents who have had things to say about their government, and then all of a sudden they end up poisoned in the hospital, right, when they're and they end up, either on the edge of death or actually dying from being poisoned. So there's kind of aspects of that to this story that lead us down that road to have the viewpoint that you just explained, Brian. And that I'm picking up what you're putting down when it comes to this. I happen to think that there could be absolutely something shady regarding him passing away in this form and in this way, right? So again, but we kind of go back to this whole thing with Chris Beard too, right? Like we want to have some type of concrete knowledge or evidence as to whether or not there's something to this, right? And I would suspect, look, I'm not a doctor. I'm not someone that conducts any type of autopsies or anything like that. So I would be speaking out of turn. It's way out of my pay grade. But I would expect that there's going to be some type of clarification and ways that we can find out how it is that he passed away when he's brought back here to the United States.
So he's already been his body arrived at the John F. Kennedy International Airport in New York City at 8:30 a.m., accompanied by an official from the U.S. Embassy. And I do hope that there is certainly some sort of autopsy, because if something was put in his body, they'll be able to detect that
100%
in his bloodstream. Yeah. But I find it hard to believe that there wasn't some shenanigans going on here. But again, we'll have to wait and find out. I will say this as well. While I appreciate him in supporting his brother and supporting the LGBTQ community, it pains me to say this because I wish this wasn't the case, but when you wear a shirt like he wore, you're asking for trouble. I wish that wasn't the case, right? You wear a shirt like that in the United States of America, for the most part, unless you run into some bigots, for the most part, you'll be embraced by that, because it's, let's respect all, no matter what your sexuality is. In America, for the most part, you'll be congratulated for wearing a shirt like that, and rightfully so, you should. But in that country, man, with that type of environment, you are asking for trouble. He had to have known that. I'm not saying anything bad. He deserved anything bad to happen to him. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. You're asking for trouble when you do something like that. There's certain circumstances in the United States where what you're doing, you're not doing anything wrong per se, but you're asking for trouble. For example, if you go to a certain neighborhood in the middle of the night and you're just walking alone, you're not doing anything wrong, but you could be asking for trouble. It could be an area that's not safe, right? There's a lot of, even in Vegas, but let's use Chicago as an example.
Yeah.
There's places police officers won't even go to. You're not breaking the law by taking a dog for a walk or just, jogging in that area. You're not doing anything wrong, but you're asking for trouble if you don't know. And I don't want to compare it to sports, but I guess with this analogy, I will. If you're wearing a specific jersey in a hostile environment at their home, and you're playing against a team and that's your team, they're playing against that team, and you go into that environment knowing that there have been fights and you're asking for trouble. There's nothing wrong with what you're doing. And I don't want to compare it to this, but in that aspect, I will. He was asking for trouble. I'm not saying he deserved anything bad happening to him, but you're asking for trouble.
But I'll play devil's advocate with you, Brian, and push back a little bit. Look, his mentality may have been, look, it's not going to happen to me, right? And he's going to take the viewpoint of, that's a worst case scenario. I don't think, as someone who is a prominent soccer journalist, right, covering the World Cup, that the government of Qatar is going to take such extreme steps or,
right.
Go down. It's a worst case scenario, essentially, right? You're going to kill a prominent soccer / football journalist in the biggest, when you're hosting the biggest sporting event in the entire freaking world. Really? You're going to go down that road?
Yeah.
So there is that kind of element of, that's not going to happen to me. And regardless of my viewpoints and regardless of my actions of wearing the shirt or taking the stance that I'm taking regarding, the LGBTQ community and my own family member that happens to be a member of that community, there is I think there's some validity to that as well too. So I'm not going to sit back and crucify him because he made that decision to wear that shirt, and and then he ultimately ends up dead. I'm
certainly not doing that.
It very well. Look, the option could very well be that he just unfortunately passed away from complications from a heart attack, or from, maybe there was talk that he was burning the candle at both ends from a physical standpoint there in Qatar, covering the World Cup, up early, to bed late, a lot. Look, there's a lot of things. Again, I'm not a doctor, but there could have been a lot of contributing factors regarding his death that we obviously don't know about at this point, being the average Joes and the average Janes that we are talking about this situation.
Yeah. Well, certainly I'm not attacking him or go. I applaud anybody who would wear a shirt like that, but it's just, in that country, you have to know where you are, and it might very well be the case that he died just simply of a heart attack. I know people, sadly, who have died at a very young age from getting bronchitis. I remember late great Richard Corey, who was Robin Leach's personal assistant for many, many years. Great guy, lived here in Las Vegas. We were friends. He was a really good guy. And he got pneumonia, got the flu, then he got pneumonia, and he just thought he would fight it off. And he was a young man. He was around 50 years old, and he died. So I'm not saying it's not possible. As I say before, it is very possible that he could have died from, causes from. But what I am also saying is the circumstances around this death and what he was covering and the things he was saying raise eyebrows as to, it wouldn't shock me, and I wouldn't be surprised if somebody murdered him or poisoned him or whatever the case may be. Obviously, my thoughts and prayers go out to his family. This was a really nice man. We talk about members of the media, just distinguished members of the media. Some of them are real a-holes. Some of them are just, they conduct themselves like they can walk on water, and there's no reason to do that. Right. I mean, you told me a story about Bob Ryan, right, in Boston. Right. He was kind of a jerk.
Yeah.
Because you were out there covering some stuff.
I was just a young kid, basically a production assistant, just starting out. And it tells a lot about people's character when you're in situations where you're essentially a superior, someone who's been an experienced, especially in the media. Right. Where you have certain expectations of individuals. Sometimes you do have a starry-eyed quality, right? Sometimes you are in awe of people because they've been able to achieve certain levels of success in that business, and whatever the business it happens to be. And unfortunately, sometimes you're disappointed, right?
And listen,
Brian,
and no
with
question,
the people that you come in contact
and
with.
there are people in this town that are great at what they do, and they're wonderful people in this town, people that I call friends of mine that are great reporters here. And then there are some people that waddle their way around town and think they are God's gift to journalism when a 15-year-old could do their job. And they conduct themselves like, I don't know, like they're God's gift to media. I don't understand some of these people. By the way, some of these people that I'm talking about have probably never played a sport at more than a JV level in high school in their life, and yet they think they're God's gift to, whether it be covering the Knights or MMA or basketball. Like, they're the authority, and I'm like, dude, like, when was the last time you even took a jog? Like, I mean, I'm not saying you have to have played sports at a high level to be a good journalist. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it could help. And there are certain people, not just in this town, but all over the country, that have egos, right? And they take themselves way too seriously. And unfortunately, it transcends into their behavior and the way they treat people. And the point I'm making, and the reason why I'm talking about
that's not what Grant Wall was.
Exactly. That's not who he was. Everybody that I've talked to, he's just the nicest guy in the world. You know, he's just really nice guy. Did a lot of charity work, took up really good causes like, the gay community, LGBTQ community, and wanted equality, and spoke out about social issues, and a caring guy, a good guy. And this country has lost a great journalist, a great reporter, a good man. You did something good in your career when you lose your life and you have arguably the biggest name in all of sports praising you and saying how sorry he is in LeBron James. You did something in your career when somebody like that is praising you, and rightfully so. I'm glad LeBron did do that, by the way. So it's very, very sad. We're going to need to learn more information, just like the Chris Beard situation. We need more time, we need more information, but this is very, very fishy is the word I would use. I don't want to go to those damn countries. I'm sorry. There's some nice people in those countries, but I love the United States of America. I wouldn't feel safe in some of those countries right now. I'll tell you that right now, man.
And to that point you brought up, right, Brian, there is it's safe to say, adversarial relationship when it comes to some of those Middle Eastern countries and the LGBTQ community. You're talking, you alluded to it. There are people that get tossed off of buildings if they're found out to be gay in countries like Iran and Iraq and some of these other countries in the Middle East. So it would not be shocking whatsoever if something nefarious had gone down in Qatar regarding Grant Wall.
So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Obviously, if that did happen, I want those held to account. I want them brought back to this country and give him the electric chair for all I care. But thoughts and prayers out to his family. It's a terrible story. Speaking of the LGBTQ community, update on Brittany Griner. Glad that she is home. I understand why some people didn't like the deal. What I've disagreed with over the last several days are people that are attacking Brittany Griner for being this horrible person. She hates the country. Those people are morons. Okay, Brittany Griner is not perfect. She made a terrible mistake in Russia. I know she had a domestic violence dispute with her fiance at the time, I believe. She's not perfect, but she's done some pretty darn good things in her life. She doesn't hate the country. So we're learning some new information now. Victor Bout, he's the convicted Russian arms dealer who was a part of the U.S.-Russia prison swap for Griner. Interesting moment. He's getting off the plane that was sent from America, bringing him home, and she's about to get on the plane. I don't know if you saw this video.
I did not see it, no.
It's quite interesting. So Bout is talking about that interaction he had with Brittany Griner. He said, she wanted to shake my hand. You could feel that she was really positive. Again, it's our tradition. You wish everyone good fortune and happiness. So he wished her well. He shook her hand, wished her good fortune, and she did the same for him, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, I kind of have a problem with that, to be quite honest with you. First of all, I don't know why that interaction would even take place.
Well, they walked right past each other.
Well, I don't understand why there was even a scenario that presented itself where those two would be meeting in any way, shape, or form. But there's no good PR viewpoint of this from Brittany Griner's standpoint. There's already people in America that think she hates America, and to in any way congratulate or shake the hand of an individual like the merchant of death, as he's described, I think is highly problematic. But whatever. I mean,
so Roger Carstens, who's the special presidential envoy for hostage affairs, told CNN that Griner was very talkative on the flight home, making a personal connection with each crew member on the flight. He said, we talked about everything under the sun. I was left with the impression that this is an intelligent, passionate, compassionate, humble, and interesting person, a patriotic person, but all above authentic. He said that she looked at every crew member in the eye, shook their hand, and had conversations with everybody. Obviously, she was in very good spirits. You don't know what's going to happen, and then all of a sudden you find out you're going home. I would imagine she would be. So here's what I want from Brittany Griner, Chris, and you could tell me whether you agree or not with me. I'm happy. You know this about me. I'm happy she's home. While I'm not crazy about the deal either, it was the deal that was put on the table, and this arms dealer was going to get out in 4 or 5 years anyway. You might as well get something out of it. I'm not crazy about the deal. I wish this guy was still behind bars, but here's my thoughts on Brittany Griner. While I'm glad she's home, she deserves to be home. Eventually, when she's ready, it would be really nice to have her hold a press conference. And in that press conference, be the example. Here's the mistake that I made. I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. Here's what I did. Please don't make the same mistakes that I made. Understand the laws in whatever country you're playing professional basketball, or even if you're not an athlete. Don't make the same mistakes I made because it could end your life. I'm very lucky that I'm here. I want her to be the example as to other people, Americans that are going to other countries. Don't make the same mistake Brittany Griner made. Not saying Griner deserved to be treated the way she did. All I'm saying is I want her to own it, get in front of cameras when she's ready. She needs time when she's ready, and do that. That's the first thing I want her to do. The second thing I would like her to do, and this is just me, it's just my opinion. I know she has a lot of gratitude. Her and her, is it her wife or her fiance?
It's her wife.
Yeah. I know they have a lot of gratitude for the Biden administration, and they should, quite frankly. And her wife did speak out about getting this guy Whalen out. Listen, this Whalen story, the more I hear about it and the more I talk to people that are maybe privy to information that I don't have that have really looked into this guy, he might not be completely 100% innocent like his family would like you to believe. This is a different circumstance, and it has nothing to do, it should have nothing to do with Brittany Griner. With that being said, I like what her wife said in the press conference the other day where, hey, we're going to do everything we can to help prisoners, not just Whalen, American prisoners get out and come home. And I hope they continue to do that and maybe work with the families of these prisoners. I think that'd be a wonderful thing for the family to do. But what I don't like is people, it's interesting because Donald Trump had made some comments last week. Oh, I would have gotten Whalen out. And then we're learning that Trump lied, and he basically did an interview and said, oh, well, I was given this offer on the table to get Whalen out. I had an offer and I didn't want to do it. He had opportunities to get Whalen out and he didn't do it. So this idea that, listen, this is a different case under different circumstances. I don't know whether Whalen is innocent or not. Of course, his family is going to say he's innocent. I don't know. And if he's not innocent, Biden is not going to say that because I'm sure he wants to get this guy home as well. But I'm not buying this story that this guy Whalen got this hard drive and it was espionage and all this stuff was put on that hard drive and he accepted it. He thought it was something else. Very suspicious stuff. That's all I'm saying. Very suspicious stuff. Has nothing to do with the Griner case. We know what Griner did. And the fact that Russia is treating Whalen differently than Griner leads me, and this is a gay black woman, and Putin still allowed her to leave and go back home, leads me to believe that the Whalen case has some merits to it. That's just my personal opinion.
Now, look, we could spend the rest of the hour and 11 minutes of this show discussing this Brittany Griner situation from my standpoint and my takes, Brian. I essentially echo a lot of what you just said, a lot of it. And it makes it, they're completely two different situations. It irks me that a lot of the narrative here in the United States is about, it was a choice between Brittany Griner and Whalen. It wasn't. It was never a choice. The Russians weren't giving Whalen up. It wasn't an option. He was never coming home in some type of swap, even for, that horrendous POS that we gave back to Russia. All right. That was never on the table. Mm-hmm. And by the way, again, I told you I can go on for another hour and 10 minutes on this topic.
Please don't.
Just a couple points here, right? This has nothing to do with Republican and Democrat. This has nothing to do with who the president of the United States is. The whole situation, as you pointed out with Whalen, has been going on for 5-6 years. He was imprisoned in Russia back in 2018. Everybody's going to give Biden flack because he hasn't gotten Whalen out. You didn't give the former president Donald Trump flack back when he was.
Wait, did you just knock over your camera with your hand movements?
That was hilarious.
No,
I never touched it.
Oh, but that's definitely no. I'm posting that on social media. You get so excited, your hand moves that you knocked over your camera. That is
I knocked the camera.
That is a social media moment right there. See Win with his hand movements,
smooth as silk. I almost didn't drop a beat, and I'm still talking, and now the camera's back up. So anyway, I really have an issue with this whole partisanship from a political standpoint regarding this situation. And then you do have the underlying situation where people are exposing themselves, Mr. Shapiro and PTL out there.
Please don't expose yourself.
They're exposing themselves as bigots and, anti-LGBTQ and bringing up this narrative of, we're bringing home the America-hating lesbian from the WNBA instead of our heralded Marine. And they call him a retired Marine. He's not a retired Marine. He had the second worst designation as far as the discharge in the military. All right. He didn't have the dishonorable discharge, which is the worst designation, but he had the second worst, which was an actions. Essentially, he was booted out for his actions. He was writing bad checks. Apparently, he had a bunch of larceny charges when he was in the Marines and got booted out.
But Chris, Brittany Griner didn't stand during the national anthem. She hates America.
Exactly. Like, it's just the whole, it's so disingenuous. A lot of the people that are attacking both the Biden administration and this deal that went down. Look, and they keep acting, again, I said I'm not going to go on a rant. I'm going to go on like a 4-minute rant here, but it's about 2 minutes from being over. So they're acting like Russia. It's two countries that are acting in good faith. No, they're not. Russia's not looking to do the United States any favors, right? It was completely a compromise that we did not want to make as Americans, right? Obviously, it's a terrible trade from a standpoint of you're turning over someone that has essentially killed citizens, innocent citizens, someone that's led to that, someone who is an absolute POS, I can say on the radio, right? And I can say on the airways. He's complete garbage. Yes, but that was the deal that was I mean, look, you could be the greatest negotiator in the world, and give me a break talking about the former president like he's some great negotiator. Get the you-know-what out of here with that crap, all right? The deal was done because it was a compromise that we had to make, and there's no, again, you reiterated it. I'm going to say it again. It wasn't some type of choice between Brittany Griner and Whalen as far as who we were trying to get or who we could get back, or we wanted this person back more than the other person. That's not what it was like. It was a circumstance that we faced that morally was questionable, obviously, when you're sending somebody that horrible, that individual, back to Russia in exchange for Brittany Griner. But I echo your sentiments also. The punishment, Brian, I'm going to close with this. The punishment never fit the crime. Are you kidding me? Over 10 years in a penal colony in Russia because you had some cannabis or weed oil cartridges in your luggage. Give me a freaking break. It was always, she was getting railroaded. There was always a political type of play on Russia's side, not on the United States' side, but on Russia's side. And it was ridiculous that she would have to face those type of consequences for what exactly she did. Wow. Period. Full stop.
Wow. I just timed. That was an 8-minute rant.
It was.
That was a solid, Mark. That was about 8 minutes on the stop.
And to the idiots that keep texting us and on our text line and somebody, whose name who remain nameless, who keeps texting me talking about how it's not the same, or it's not the same, guy. All right. It's not the same. They're two separate situations. All right. Whalen and Brittany Griner.
Why don't you want to say who it is?
His initials are MV, and he's a moron when it comes to most of his political takes.
Wait, what are his initials?
Initials are MV.
NV?
MV.
Oh, okay. I don't know who that is. But anyway, let me be very clear on this here. You said a lot there.
I did.
Why is it that the people that are going after Brittany Griner for hating America because she didn't stand during the national anthem, they're all right-wingers? Why? Well, I'll tell you why. And I'm going to generalize here. Most of the people in America that don't like black people, most of the people in America that do not like gay people are not Democrats. Okay, I'm going to start right there. That's number one. Yeah. By the way, I'm not saying every Republican is racist, and I'm not saying every Republican is homophobic either. But all the people out there that are going after Brittany Griner are Republicans. That's number one. Number two, you are a hypocrite, like this idiot that's texting you, and you have no leg to stand on if you had no problem with Donald Trump releasing 5,000 Taliban terrorists. He did do that. Now, I'm sure he had his reasons for doing it, but if you have no problem with a former president, releasing 5,000 Taliban terrorists, and by the way, if you don't think this happened, you could look it up. It did. Bolton affirmed it, and people underneath Trump affirmed. 5,000 Taliban terrorists. I don't like this arms dealer out of jail any more than you do. But if you're okay with a former president, because you wear Donald Trump knee pads, releasing 5,000 Taliban terrorists, but now you're up in arms because we have a black female who happens to be gay coming home and we gave up an arms dealer, then you are a hypocrite and you need to sit this one out. That is number 2. Number 3, Donald Trump had every opportunity to get Whalen out, and he decided not to. He admitted that himself. So stop with the rhetoric that, if Donald Trump was president, he would have been able to get this done. He didn't do it when he was president. He was president in 2018, you dummies. So this is why I use the term hypocrisy when I talk about these right-wing idiots who have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. And yes, Chris, you are right. As I mentioned earlier, the Brittany Griner situation with cannabis oil is a very different circumstance than being
espionage,
convicted of espionage.
Yeah.
Now, if you think Whalen is innocent, fine. Let's have that conversation. But they are two completely different cases. If you don't like this trade, fine. Let's have this conversation. I'm not crazy about it either. Yeah. But Brittany Griner is not this horrible person that so many people on the far right make her out to be. She doesn't hate America. You dumbasses out there, all these athletes that were taking a knee, what, they all hate America? For anybody that takes a knee, they hate America? No, they don't, because I know a lot of these people personally. And even though I'm not a big Colin Kaepernick guy, I believe his heart was in the right place when he started doing this. It's called raising awareness for equality. That's the opposite of hating America. But you stupid racist a-holes out there that want to attack people like Brittany Griner because she didn't stand during the national anthem. Guess what? People died for this country so that you have the freedom to stand for the national anthem and you have the freedom to sit down for the national anthem. What, you're going to force everybody to stand up during the national anthem? This isn't a dictatorship. I know some people would like it like that. It's not. Brittany Griner doesn't hate America. I'm glad she's home. All right-wing turds out there need to sit down and shut up. I've had it.
Hey, Brian, can I make a quick point, too, before we go to break? I know we got to go quick, but to add to that, all these people bitching and moaning seats about Brittany Griner didn't even know who Paul Whalen was 6 months ago.
That's
before
true.
The Brittany Griner situation, transpired. None of them even knew who he was. Now they're sanctimonious as all get out because of the situation that's happened in the last 3 months.
Any opportunity to try to go after Joe Biden or Democrats.
100%.
It's a joke.
Get a chance to go after old Joe.
You get zero credibility. All right, everybody, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to switch topics here. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Bernie Fratto, national sports host, talk show host on Fox Sports Radio. And we're going to talk a little bit about the landscape and talk some local sports, some national sports, mix it up with Bernie. And then later on in the hour, how about UNLV Hoops, man, beating Washington State here in Las Vegas? They're 10-0. Are some people comparing UNLV basketball to the 90-91 season? Kevin Kruger was asked about that in the press conference. We'll play that for you. His reaction's funny. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to Push the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is the knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Montecito, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub? And you can be a hero. Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Mossel. He was Las Vegas' top DUI prosecutor for years. Prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly, a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555. Hey, everybody, it's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams, treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client. So please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
The world-famous radio shopping show, weekday on 1400 KSHP North Las Vegas and KSHP.com.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program's participants and do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limit. Your host, Brian Shapiro. I've been called worse before. Co-hosting with me, guest hosting is Chris Mann.
Good to see you, Brian.
Yes. I want to tell you guys about my good friends at Sahara West Urgent Primary Care. They're located at 125 West Sahara Avenue. Give them a buzz, 702-248-0554. You could also visit them online at SaharaWestUrgentCare.com. I was in and out of there in 20 minutes. It's awesome. They take most insurances, and if you don't have insurance, only charge $95. Sahara West Urgent and Primary Care. You know, it's been a little while since I spoke to this guy, but certainly one of my favorites to listen to on Fox Sports Radio. He is a nationally syndicated host, and of course, he resides right here in Las Vegas. Bernie Fratto joining us right on the line. Bernie, it's been a little while since we spoke. I appreciate you coming on. How are you?
Well, thanks for having me. Happy holidays. Yeah, it has been a minute, but good to be with you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Bernie. Boy, so much to get to in a short period of time. Let's start on the local front, and then we'll kind of talk a little national stuff and maybe get some gambling in there as well, some sports betting analysis. You covered UNLV for many years. Were you surprised that Coach Arroyo was fired after year 3?
Only because of stories I've heard, and I was not personally involved, but, you know, the world a lot of times is run on relationships and how you conduct those interpersonal relationships. And it's my understanding from the jump that wasn't particularly his strong suit. And I think when when the AD had the opportunity, he decided he wanted to bring in his guy. So I was slightly surprised because usually not fired the day after you beat Reno, and it felt like the program was trending in a good direction in terms of the recruits we were getting and the athletes we were putting on the field. And they started out like a house of fire. So I was slightly surprised, but when I heard the backstory afterward, I guess I understood the rationale.
Yeah, I think time will tell whether with this new hire, we'll have to wait and see what happens moving forward with Coach Odom. But we'll have to wait and see there. On a positive note, you covered Lon Kruger, his days here at UNLV. Great guy, I'm sure you would agree. Great family, classy.
Oh, yeah.
Hall of Fame coach. He well deserving. And I'm so glad he's back around the program. I think Kevin's doing a really, really good job. This team buys in, certainly defensively. I mean, they get after it defensively. They're 10-0. And I know they haven't played any really good teams. Obviously, they beat Dayton when they were top 25, but a nice win against Minnesota. Nice win over the weekend against Washington State. Yeah, you must be pretty pleased with what Kevin has done.
Top credit to Kevin Kruger, and I'm glad you mentioned Lon. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Lon's a Hall of Fame coach, and the last time the Rebels had real success, particularly in the postseason, was when Lon was at the helm. You remember 2007, UNLV actually got to the Sweet 16, beat Wisconsin, and was a whisker of winning in the Elite Eight and getting to the Elite Eight against Oregon. And that team obviously had great defensive presence, put guys in the NBA, And I think your characterization of the current team is correct. They play great defense. This team actually has an identity, which I don't think we've had in the last 10 years.
I
the
agree.
identity is
Yep.
toughness and defense, right? And that has served them well, and they got enough go-to guys in crunch time. I was very impressed with the Washington State win because it came down to crunch time, and those are the games in the past the UNLV teams weren't winning, and now they're winning those games. So, look, it'll be curious to see how they do in conference, but they've done everything you've asked of them to do this year.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I had a conversation with a friend of mine over the weekend about this, that UNLV finally has an identity. You're right. I mean, all due respect to Dave Rice. Dave was a great guy, a really nice person. They had no identity. They didn't play defense, and they took a lot of bad shots. And Menzies, it seemed like he just threw the ball out there and let's just play basketball. TJ never wanted to be here. Let's just be honest. I know he's had some success, but he never wanted to be here. So you have a coach that wants to be here. He loves UNLV. He played for UNLV. He's easy to root for. He's in the community. He reaches out to former players. Kevin is just, to me, he's such an easy person to root for because he's a good guy. I'm not sure we've had that, at least in the last couple coaching tenures. Dave Rice, a good guy. He bleeds red. But I just think these last couple coaches, this is just a different situation. And I think fans need to embrace that. I was very disappointed, Bernie, with the crowd turnout over the weekend against Washington State. I think more fans need to come out now. This is a good product. This is no longer a bad product. UNLV basketball they're a good team. Am I saying they're going to make the Sweet 16? No, but I believe they are good enough to compete for a championship in the Mountain West Conference. I'm not saying they're going to win. Boise State's good. San Diego State's good, but they have the tools to compete, and more fans need to come out and support this team.
I think this team can win the Mountain West. Now, I'm not predicting that. I'm glad you brought up Kevin again because remember, he was the point guard on that 2017 that almost got to the Elite Eight.
Right.
So he understands what it takes. He knows what success looks like. And I'm in agreement. It's time to get the MAC filled up again. I remember the second year I did Rebel Extra. It was a Monday night against Northern Arizona, and they were sold out because people wanted to see Anthony Bennett. And the Thomas and Mack was sold out about 6 or 7 times that year. I think they played Arizona and of course, San Diego State and Reno. We need to get back to that point. This team, I saw San Diego State lose to St. Mary's the other night. And this team is a little bit in San Diego State's mold, and that, all those years, Steve Fisher and now Brian Dutcher, they bring in guys with length. They play defense. I was always a big Chuck Daly disciple when I covered the Pistons. He always said, let's start with a stop. That's how this team is. They're going to stop and make everything difficult for you. No free catches in space. Guys know their defensive assignments. They communicate. They switch. They contest everything. I think they wear teams down. And so I agree with you. That's their identity. And I also agree with you. It's time to get people back in the Thomas and Mack. And I will be there as well. This is a program I've always believed. It's a powder keg waiting to happen again. I'm not saying we're 1990, but I saw that 1990 team play in person. So this is a ceiling of what the program can be someday.
Bernie, you got to stop agreeing with me on everything. It's very uncomfortable. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Chris.
Bernie, speaking of teams and organizations looking to establish identity, we have an NFL team now here in Vegas, the Las Vegas Raiders, obviously going into this season, the AFC West, right? The most talked about division going into the season, and without quite and for good reason, really, right? Because of all the storylines surrounding all these teams. I got to get your thoughts regarding kind of the seesaw effect of this Raiders team as of late, right? You're able to string together a few wins, and then the last couple of weeks it hasn't been going so well for this Las Vegas Raiders team. It's kind of what do you think about the whole climate surrounding all things silver and black right now in Las Vegas with the Raiders?
I'm going to be honest and blunt, guys. I never bought into this regime from the jump. We keep hearing every other year, this is finally the Raiders' year. Hell, if I had a nickel for everybody that told me this is finally the Raiders' year, Elon Musk would be mowing my lawn.
Wow.
When they fired, Rich Bisaccia, they didn't fire him per se. I thought that was a mistake. Agreed. And when they brought in Josh McDaniels, someone asked me my opinion. I said, well, if he's bringing Brady and Belichick with him, I guess I can get down with it, but I don't think that's the case. Josh McDaniels is a decent, he was a good offensive coordinator and creative offensive mind. But as a CEO mentality, this has not been a success. And I don't think anybody can deny that. When you blow 4 double-digit leads in the second half, and that hasn't happened since 1930. This is still a mistake-prone team. They commit penalties. They blow assignments. I know it's real easy to play armchair quarterback, but I did Lions pre- and post-game for 10 years, and I'm looking at Thursday night. Baker Mayfield comes to the line of scrimmage and says, I'm surprised they had us in press coverage. I was too. And why did they have Nate Hobbs on and Jefferson? Put a veteran on a veteran instead of a rookie on a veteran. And the whole thing has just been an abject failure. And I understand that Mark Davis wants to stick with Josh McDaniels, and he should. I'm not an advocate of firing a coach after 1 year. I think you got to give a guy 2 or 3 years. I am hearing, though, because of the contract-friendly deal that Derek Carr has, it would not surprise me if Derek Carr is here next year. Yeah. But if you run it back with the same group, you're going to get the same results. And I'm on record. I said it on my show in August. I said they're going to be 7-10 or 8-9. After they went 4-0 in the preseason, everybody told me, no, this is it. Here we go. Well, I covered the greatest 4-0 team of all time, the 2008 Detroit Lions. They outscored their opponents 80-32. They looked great, and then they proceeded to go in 16. So, guys, we could do the whole show for the next 3 hours about the problems the Raiders have. I'm not a believer in that.
No, I agree with everything you said, Bert. If you're just joining us, he's Bernie Fratto, nationally syndicated host, Fox Sports Radio. I agree with what you said about Josh McDaniels. I wasn't big on the hire either. I have Versace. They should have kept them. They should have brought Ole, all those guys back for one more year. I think making it to the playoffs last year with everything that team had to deal with off the field was a great accomplishment. And by the way, they were right in that game with the Bengals, a team that made it to the Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
It makes no sense. I'm with you, Bernie, 100%. Let's talk about Derek Carr, though. We agree on McDaniels, but I think if they're in the same situation they're in right now next year and they have another losing season, got to be fired. With that being said, I don't think Derek Carr is a top 10 quarterback. I never have. He shows flashes of brilliance. He has games where you say, wow, he looks like a top 10 quarterback. He is beyond inconsistent. The throw he had, and I'm just going by one play, which he shouldn't. I mean, it's all year collectively, but the interception in the end zone, that throw, it looked like it was intentional. That's how bad it was, and I don't think it was. He's inconsistent. He's bad in the red zone. He has flashes of brilliance, but he also has tools. I know that some of his receivers have been hurt. I know Darren Waller hasn't been out there in a while. I get that.
That's pretty important, guys. That's something that I was going to play devil's advocate with both of you. Look, the absence of Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow in this offense, obviously, in leading into next year, that you need to make the financials work regarding Josh Jacobs. It's pretty important not having Waller and Renfrow in the mix for the entire season, guys.
Well, I guess lots to unpack there, so let me dive into that. Mm-hmm. And certainly, we'd rather have Waller and Renfrow on the field. Renfrow caught 116 balls last year. Yeah. But Davante Adams, we were told that Davante Adams and Derek Carr were going to be, Montana and Rice, right? I mean, I don't think I'm overstating that. Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you a question, guys. You've been around the block a few times. Thursday night, the Rams featured the bottom 10 pass defense, and Carr only threw the ball 20 times.
Yep, such a great point.
And I'll tell you, everything you said, you're really going to get sick of me now because I agree with everything you just said, Brian. Derek Carr, I think you acknowledge, has arm talent. And Derek Carr is a decent human being, and he does his best to be a leader of men, and he's a somewhat adequate field general. The only thing I can't stand are his post-game platitudes. Every time he starts talking, I want to kill myself with a chainsaw. It's so boring. The same damn thing.
Guys, it's on me. It's on me, guys.
It's on me. We got to get better. We got to get better. We just got to go back. We got to figure out what we did wrong. And no, you're not. You're not doing any of that. Because here's the bottom line. In high leverage moments, I have observed Derek Carr is really good when it doesn't matter. When it doesn't matter, expectations. I talked about this Saturday night. Raiders come out of the gate with all kinds of expectations. They start out 0-3. Now there's no expectations. Then they win a game. Tim Brown says they're gonna win the next 6 in a row. He came close. They went 2-4. Yeah. Now there's no expectations. Here we go again. Then the Raiders win 3 in a row. Here we go.
Bernie,
now there's expectations.
You are so right.
Can I make one more point, Brian?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm so glad you mentioned. I know you guys are very knowledgeable. Let's tie in Greg Olsen, Derek Carr, and the Cincinnati Bengals. Mm-hmm. Do you guys remember on that final drive, Derek Carr got to the line of scrimmage and spiked the ball on first down when he didn't need to? Yep. Do you remember that?
I do. Yep.
We do.
That came up Thursday night. It finally came out. Right, so Moles. Greg Olsen was called on the carpet and said, what the hell are you doing having Carr spike the ball when on first down we didn't need to do? Olsen goes, you think I called that? They had to eat that for a year people thinking that was his call when it was a car
It wasn't.
faux pas.
It wasn't.
So it all kind of came out. It was, redemption is good for the soul. And Greg Olson got his redemption as a member of the Rams Thursday night. So it's my long-winded way of saying, look, Derek Carr is a decent, serviceable quarterback. He's not a top 10 quarterback. I agree with you. And in high leverage moments when it matters most, I've yet to see him come through.
Yeah, and by the way, Olson, pretty good offensive coordinator. I know him
Very
well,
good.
and I thought he did a hell of a job. And that's something else is the play calling of this team. And then we can move on. I want to talk to you about the game on Thursday. I thought the play calling was atrocious. They didn't take any shots down the field. What I wanted to see from Derek Carr, will you throw a few more picks, perhaps? Take some shots down the frickin' field. I don't understand it. Why were they so conservative against one of the worst teams in football, Bernie?
Because they don't trust Derek Carr. They're not going to admit it. They're not going to put it on, on the front page. You trust your eyes, guys. They tell you a lot. I don't think they trust Derek Carr. What did Devontae Adams had one catch in the second half? This is a bottom 10 ranked pass defense. The week before, Geno Smith took the ball right down the field, 75 yards with a minute to go in the game and beat the Rams. And yet you run the ball 38 times when you're facing the bottom 10 pass defense.
Makes no sense.
And we know why, because I don't think they trust Derek Carr.
Well, there's a reason why Derek Carr has never won a playoff game. And there's also a reason why Josh McDaniels has not won more games in the NFL than lost. I don't believe Josh McDaniels is a very good head coach, good offensive coordinator, not a good head coach, not a good leader. I don't believe Derek Carr is an elite quarterback that deserves to be making $40 million a year. And I think we all can agree on that. And we'll have to wait and see how this thing goes. What do you make of the Vegas Golden Knights? This is a team that has a new coach, new system. I know that they had a tough night yesterday, and they've had a kind of a rough go the last few weeks. But with that being said, they have a lot of injuries. I like Cassidy. I like this hire.
Why?
Yeah, I really do. And I love Gallant. I don't think they should have ever gotten rid of him, but I think this is a pretty good replacement. I didn't like DeBoer. I like this guy, Cassidy. And I think this team is prone to not only make the playoffs, but who knows, maybe make a run if they can get healthy.
I like Gallant, too. Just a quickie. Turk was a man among boys. And I know Chris will remember back in 87, not only did Gerard Gallant score 30 goals, he would have beaten Ryan Reeves in a fight. I'll go to my grave knowing that. You don't see that combination in hockey. Look, I like Cassidy. This regime's on its third coach in 5 years. I think they got all the pressure in the world. And for now, Jack Eichel has come back from his injury nicely. Mark Stone has come back from his injury. We don't have a Hall of Fame goalie in net anymore, and we're not going to find out how that's going to affect us until we get to April and May, because the Stanley Cup gauntlet is the toughest in all of sport. And none of this is going to matter, guys, if they get knocked out in the first or second round. So we're going to have to really fast forward to May of next year, because Bill Foley has always said he's going to win the Cup by year 6. Well, this is year 6, and they're the one telling us that. So they'll either do it or they won't, and I think it's going to be a tough ask.
You alluded, of course, Bernie, to Gerard Gallant. You, of course, worked in some cities that would be called hockey cities. Have to get your impression on the Vegas Golden Knights here and the fan support, right? I mean, it's really an adoptive team, and it's a city that's kind of evolving when it comes to the sport of hockey. What are your thoughts regarding how this team has been embraced here, and how the NHL has really become kind of a hot spot right here in the desert regarding the NHL?
That's a really good question. And I think it's been fantastic in that this team has embraced the Golden Knights. And look, people will tell you it's the best rink in the United States. The crowd, the entertainment, the pregame, everything about it. There's nothing quite like it. Look, I've talked to Keith Dave, guys that covered the Wings back in the days. We all agree this is even a better atmosphere than the Joe was in Detroit when the Wings were winning Stanley Cups. But to your larger point, I'm really proud of the way that the Las Vegas community has absolutely embraced hockey. Mm-hmm. Now, we do know that a lot of folks here, most folks are not from here, but hockey in the desert, it's not automatic that it's going to work. There's a story about Jack Kent Cooke, a Canadian, when he bought the LA Kings back in 1965. He said, I want to have a hockey team in Los Angeles. I found out there's 400,000 transplanted Canadians living in Los Angeles.
Exactly.
The Kings in the forum, the Kings, the first month, they're drawing 2,000 people a game. Yeah. And he says, now I know why these Canucks live in LA. They hate hockey. So the bottom line is the fact that the city has absolutely embraced this team. And it's not only a competitive product on the ice, and a great product that the fans can avail themselves of. It's true. It's genuine entertainment.
No question. By the way, for those of you that might not know, I know you do, Chris. Bernie covered professional sports in Detroit for many years.
Did.
Bernie was in the building, the Malice at the Palace.
That's
he
right.
was there, which is
November 19th, 2004. I'll never forget it.
As was the official Bernie, right? That Brian and I, we run into all
Nunez.
the time. Nunez,
Tommy
we run
Nunez,
into him all the time out here in Vegas, Bernie, who was the
not a
official
very
in
good,
that
not
game.
a very good official. That's why.
But he was there. He was there. On the court. Yeah.
Tim Donaghy was also was one of the officials on the floor that night.
Oh boy, you know what he does now, Bernie? Tim Donaghy. You know what he does now for work?
I saw the Netflix special. I think he's a consultant, right?
Yeah, sports gambling consultant, because he knows some of the that's wild. I gotta say this, Bernie? I know you cover all the sports, especially from a gambling perspective, and you do a great job on Fox Sports. I can't watch NBA anymore regular season. I don't even pay attention. I love basketball. Anybody who knows me knows I love college basketball. I love the NBA. I don't like the way the NBA is played this year. I don't like too many guys sitting out. The whole Kawhi Leonard thing is ridiculous. I don't like guys getting rest. I watch some games where LeBron James is completely disengaged, doesn't take the ball to the basket once. And then I see other games where he is engaged. I see guys turn it off and turn it on. I think there's way too many games. There's not a lot of defense being played. I'm not a big NBA fan as I once was, Bernie.
Well, buddy, I give you top credit for having the cojones to say that on the air, because I think a lot of people feel that way, but they haven't spoken on it. I come from a slightly different angle. I've led this blessed, weird life. I was an intern at the Forum Magic's rookie year, saw all his games courtside, covered the bad boy Pistons. Where am I going with that? So, Brian, I think what you're seeing is, or lack thereof, is the NBA is a league of eras. You go back, you had the Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, Bill Russell, Boston Celtic, Red Auerbach era. Then you get into the 70s with the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Then you get into the 80s with the Magic Jordan era. Then you get into the 90s, the Jordan era continues. And then you hand it off to the Kobe and Shaq era. And then you kind of sort of hand it off to LeBron and that group. But how do you define this era now? Kyrie Irving, who shows up when he feels like it and doesn't feel like it, says, we don't need a coach. We'll just coach the team ourselves. There are plenty of stars in the league, and there's plenty of athleticism and highlight reels. But between load management and the fact that the season feels long and doesn't really get a lot of attention until after Christmas Day, how do you define this era when they had to follow 6 straight decades of true iconic household name type basketball players? What's the identity now? And I think that's what you're missing, Brian. You turn on the TV and it's like watching a Canadian Football League game. What the hell am I watching? Who's playing? The Rough Riders against the Rough Riders? Who's that guy? Never heard of these guys. What's going on?
And Bernie, you used that phrase, and Brian alluded to it just a moments ago, that load management phrase, right? Can you imagine back in the 1980s, late 70s, into the 90s, regarding Michael Jordan or Magic Johnson or Isaiah Thomas when it comes to load management, not playing in games? They had a vision of themselves as marquee entertainment pieces when they went on the road. When you played on that one game, right? When you're in the Eastern Conference and you played at Denver, you realize that those fans were going to get a chance to see you play. The idea that's kind of transpired, right, guys, in the last, 5, 6, 7, 12 years into, you talked about the eras, Bernie, right? Regarding each era. I think this whole load management stuff really started kicking in right in around mid 2000, 2005, 2006 as LeBron's career got into his 3rd, 4th, 5th year. It's something I think that's really damaged the NBA, Bernie, in my personal opinion.
Well, from a fan standpoint, let's say you're just a regular dude, and you're living in, you're living in Washington, D.C., you're working at Napa Auto Parts, making $42,500 a year. You go one NBA game a year, the Lakers are coming to town, and your son wants to see LeBron.
Yep.
You show up and you find out LeBron's not playing that night. Dad, where's LeBron? Oh, he's sitting over there behind the bench sipping wine. And that's the only game that family can afford to go to all year. I think you're spot on, Chris. Listen, it's a different mentality now, guys.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is. I guess, Bernie, this will be my last question for you. You've been in this town a long time, as have I. Isn't it incredible? The events, the games that we go to every week, it's wild, right? I mean, we got college basketball tonight. Bobby Hurley in town, as you know, at Mandalay Bay, Arizona State. New Mexico, San Francisco, Creighton. Went to a bunch of college basketball games over the weekend. Indiana and Arizona, that was a mega game, and it was so much fun. And then, of course, we have the NHL. And then next weekend, I look at the Las Vegas Bowl, which is Saturday morning. And then the following day, we got the Raiders in town playing Bill Belichick and the Patriots. Isn't it incredible where this town was and where it is now, just from a professional sports perspective? Let's not even forget about the Desert Dogs, Wayne Gretzky's team, right? Steve Nash and DJ, professional lacrosse. It's incredible where this town is right now from a professional sports perspective, isn't it, Bernie?
Well, of course, and it's beyond incredible. Las Vegas has always been an international destination, but here's what's changed. Because of the connotation prior and the overturning of PASPA in 2018, the floodgates have opened. So think about all the events you just mentioned, and they're all significant. But we've got a Super Bowl here in a couple of years. We've got the Final Four here coming in 27 and 28. And so not just the local teams and the events, and now we have an NFL team and we have an NHL team, and I believe we're going to get an NBA team within 4 years. And it continues as a college town with all the regional tournaments and all the conference championships. Now we got the Pro Bowl. Now we got the Super Bowl. We're going to have the Final Four. We got a Formula One race coming. It continues to become this international destination. And Vegas is not only very well positioned to accommodate these events with all the venues and all the hotel rooms and all the accoutrements, so people can go with the dinners and shows and make a whole trip out of it.
Right.
But what's interesting too is people can come here and make a vacation and build a vacation around the event in and of itself. And so it's going to continue. I think it's going to, Vegas is going to continue to grow and be seen as that optimal destination.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, Bernie, congratulations on all your success with your nationally syndicated show on Fox Sports. It's well-deserved. You're very good at what you do, and you're also a good dude, and I appreciate you coming on, and hopefully we can have you on again down the road, but appreciate your time, my man. Thanks, you so
Bernie.
much.
Any time, guys. I always enjoy coming on, and we'll try to be a little more opinionated next time, and hopefully we can get over the shyness.
Yeah, hopefully we can.
Tell us how you really feel, sir.
That's
Come
what
on now.
that's what I love about you, Bernie. Thanks for coming
Have a
on, my
good day,
friend.
guys.
Have a
You
good
too.
week, Bernie.
Appreciate it. That's Bernie Fratto. Does a great weekly show on Fox Sports Radio.
And a local connection, Brian.
Yep.
He was a longtime host here in Las Vegas across the radio waves. I had a chance to talk. He brought up Rebel Extra. I had a chance to co-host a number of Rebel Extra shows, which is a post-game show for UNLV basketball. And Bernie has a storytelling aspect to his personality, Brian.
Yeah.
But that's what we do. We try to entertain people as well as have our takes and have our opinions. And Bernie is as good as anybody when it comes to that kind of aspect.
Take it easy with those hand gestures. I don't want you knocking over the camera again. Be careful, Chris. Anyway, we're going to take a break. We'll open up the phone line, 702-22. Again, that number, if you want to be a part of the conversation, 702-221-7283. Are people really comparing the running Rebels under Jerry Tarkanian in the early 90s to this 10-0 team today? Well, one member of the media tried to make that comparison, and we'll give you Kevin Kruger's answer in response to it when we come back. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Look, it's impossible for the average person to find a great attorney out there. There's so much misinformation. Now, let me introduce you to former Chief Deputy District Attorney Thomas Moskal. He was Las Vegas's top DUI prosecutor for years. He prosecuted the most high-profile DUI cases in Clark County. No one knows more about DUI law in Nevada. Just Google it. If you get charged with DUI, whether it's a misdemeanor or even more importantly, a felony, you need Thomas Moskal representing you. His relationships with the prosecutors and judges and his knowledge of DUI law to work for you. So give him a call now or text him at 702-848-5555. It's your life and liberty that's at stake. Don't wait. Call now. That number again, 702-848-5555. Hey, everybody. It's Brian Shapiro from Pushing the Limits. I want to tell you guys about Sahara West Urgent Care and Wellness. They're conveniently located on the southwest corner of Sahara and Jones. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. At Sahara West Urgent Care, they'll take care of all your healthcare needs. They offer routine services such as physicals, STD testing, car accident treatment, and work injuries. You name it, they do it. They have on-site x-ray, EKG, ultrasound, and labs. They treat chronic conditions such as asthma, blood pressure, diabetes, and more. They also offer general wellness exams and treatments such as testosterone enhancement and cancer screening. They're located on Sahara, 6125 West Sahara Avenue. Their number is 702-248-0554. And the best part, they accept most major insurances and affordable cash pay prices, office visits starting at just $95. And I'm also a client. So please give them a call, 702-248-0554.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. So glad you could join us. Hope you could join Jackson's Bar, because Jackson's Bar and Grill, my favorite gaming bar in town, and I think I'm pretty sure Chris Wynn would agree with me on that.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, Jackson's is so awesome. I was hanging out there with Anthony Curtis the other day. They got some great promotions in December. Every Sunday you earn 200 points, you get $50 in free play. Mondays, earn 200 points, get a free bottle of wine. Tuesday, 10 times points all day. Some restrictions apply. Great food, great atmosphere. I love it over there, man. I won there last time, a few bucks too. Jackson's Bar and Grill. Please tell them I sent you, and I'll probably be making a pit stop over there tomorrow and grabbing lunch. The food there is excellent, by the way. You think some gaming bars don't have good food? Not the case at Jackson's. Their food is awesome. Chris, I got to ask you a question. As we came back from break, here, why are you so stressed out? You're strung out, my friend.
Because I'm dealing with simpletons across the board, my friend. When I have some people that I converse with.
You need a massage.
I let things slide, and then I don't let things slide, and I get very anxious, and I get very upset.
Well, let me get a non-biased. I need a non-biased
but
opinion.
I'm not really that high strung. That's
Mark. Does Chris seem a little agitated today? He seems not at us.
And let's be honest, you bring it out in me too sometimes, right? Hey, Mark, he brings it out. PTL Nation out there.
He seems stressed
Shapiro
out.
Can be. He's
the
not afraid to be adversarial at times. He likes a little debate, likes a little argument, and that's good. That's a good thing, but it gets me.
Chris was
wired up.
Mark, have you ever heard a dumber argument or discussion than you heard off the air earlier today? He's trying to tell me how I communicate.
Well, I think Chris is just passionate. It's just passionate.
I am passionate.
It's just
that would be a correct take right there. That would be 100%.
You're very passionate.
Spot on take
about your caveman Keno. He's very passionate about
passionate.
caveman Keno.
Yes,
he's
very
passionate about his food.
Yeah.
There's no question. He's passionate about his $20 parlays, which one he lost yesterday. By the way, I
did win
booked
one
a bet for him
yesterday.
yesterday, by the way.
Yeah.
I actually booked a $20 parlay for him yesterday that he lost. I'm telling you, I should just book all bets. I'll make money off of this guy. I'll be the bookie.
Brian, here's the deal. It's not that I lose every single bet, right?
Watch it with your hands.
One of the bets on the parlay. That's the nature of losing parlays, right? As you lose just one game. I go 1 for 1. I go 2 for 3. I go 3 for 4. I'm the master at it.
I have a serious question.
All of you professional gamblers out there, they probably poo-poo my parlay taking.
I have a serious question for you.
Okay.
You know, some professional sports handicappers, they have these fake names and stuff, you know.
Oh, a lot of them do, yes.
Well, have you ever considered, and this, I'm being serious now, have you ever considered changing your name to C Lose instead of C Win?
I have not considered doing that.
You have not?
No.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
The last name Win, well, up until a couple of years ago, was pretty solid here in Vegas.
Fair enough. Well, see this transition. Speaking of winning.
Yes.
See, I'm such a radio pro. UNLV basketball, ladies and gentlemen. I know, Mark, you're very happy about this as well, being UNLV alum. Nice start for the Running Rebels, 10-0. I've watched some other teams in the Mountain West, and I believe New Mexico is undefeated as well, if I'm not mistaken. And
Utah State.
Richard Pitino Jr. in town, and Utah State. I watched them play over the weekend in Vegas as well. But nice start for Kevin Kruger. Listen, I've given credit where credit is due. I did last year. I thought Kevin did a good job last year. I like Kevin. I think he's doing a great job this year. These kids, they buy in defensively, and that's what basketball is all about. If you have a team that buys in, no matter what talent you have, and they play hard on the defensive end, you're going to give them a chance to win. And that's what the UNLV, this UNLV basketball team is doing. Now, with that being said, there was one member of the media.
Oh, here we go.
After the win against Washington State.
I see where you're going, Mr. Shapiro.
After the win against Washington State. Okay, I understand UNLV's 10-0.
Yeah,
and first time since 90-91, Jerry Tarkanian's Running Rebels also started the year 10-0. I think they played a little better competition back there. They were a little better. So somebody decided to bring this up. A writer decided to ask Kevin Kruger the question about comparing this team to that team, which, by the way, is absurd. We'll get to that. But anyway, this was Kevin Kruger's response to it right here after being asked that question.
Settle down. Let's not. No. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. No, the guys have done it. We've done a really good job of working. The guys have done a really good job of competing every day. And I think, if you remember all the way back to March of the previous year, we talked about having a team that the city loves to root for, loves to support, that the alums love to support. I get texts and calls from Anderson Hunt every time the guys play, and every time the guys have won this year, because he just appreciates how hard they play. And that's what he says every single time he texts. And that's what we're going for. And I think this team's doing it. But we've got to understand now, like you said, it's starting to get a little bit of attention, and every game's going to be a bigger challenge. And hopefully we're excited and hungry for that opportunity and those eyeballs, and because it should still be fun.
Okay, so a couple things I want to say in regards to that. First of all, idiotic question that writer asked. Just an idiot, just stupid question. That's number one. And I'm glad Kevin pushed back on it and said, settle down. We're not going down that road. That's kind of what he said. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I agree with Kevin. It's ridiculous. That's number one. Number two, I have to pat myself on the back. I do from time to time. You and I are friends with Anderson Hunt. We see Anderson all the time. By the way, I did beat Anderson in a shooting contest.
You did
last month.
I witnessed that, by the way.
Yeah, I can shoot the rock. Anyway, Anderson's a great guy. I had a conversation with Anderson Hunt when Kevin was hired, and Anderson was very upset, and still is, by the way he's treated by former coaches and the university as a whole, not wanting him around the program more. Marvin Menzies
and some of those other players too, right, from that era.
And Anderson Hunt is not alone. So I had a nice conversation with Anderson. I said, Anderson, reach out to Kevin Kruger. I have his cell phone number. Have a conversation with him. I didn't ask him to do that with TJ because TJ's a moron. I don't like TJ. Didn't like Marvin Menzies either. Dave Rice was pretty good about bringing people back. And so was Lon, by the way. So I said, Anderson, reach out to Kevin. And he said, why? I said, because Kevin's a good guy. He'll embrace it, just like his father did. Trust me on this. Since then, they text each other after every game. And I'm happy to see that. Yeah. I really am, because I wanted Anderson to be more involved. He's a legend. He's a UNLV legend. Yeah. And I'm so glad. And I knew that Kevin would embrace some of these guys, and he has. And I'm glad that Kevin mentioned that in the press conference. It was really nice to hear. So I asked Kevin after the game, according to the Washington State game, because Washington State's not a bad team. They're in a good conference. Washington State's not bad. They would be up there in the Mountain West Conference. They're not a bad team. They got some good bigs and some decent guard play. And UNLV forced like 24 turnovers. And I'm thinking to myself, you only win the game by 4 points. You forced 24 turnovers. Many of those turnovers relate to points on the other side. They are winning basketball games because of their defense, period. Their offense is getting better. I think Harkins is a very special player. He's shooting the ball very well.
Harkless?
Harkless. Yeah. I'm sorry. Did I say Harkins? I'm sorry. Harkless. Yeah. He's shooting the ball very well. I think he's their best pure shooter. And then I look at Gilbert. But anyway, let me play this cut first, and then I want to get your thoughts on the game. I asked Kevin Kruger about forcing 20, I think it was like 23 or 24 turnovers. To me, that was the difference in the game. And I asked him, Kevin, did you think those turnovers were the difference in the game?
Whoever looked at a stat sheet and won, if you give up 56% on 23 3-point attempts, but at the same time, 16 turnovers forced in the first half allowed us to, again, we had a lead at the half. So there's good and bad to it, of course. We're giving up some looks, but at the same time, the way we look at it is positive possessions. We've got to have far more positive possessions than we do not. And if we can get as many deflections as we got today and have been getting, and as many turnovers, of course, as we got today and have been getting, sometimes it's just going to go that way. But again, they did an unbelievable job finding the open guy. They really share it. They do a really good job of making that extra pass, which in the first half, I thought, especially we were just letting them pass it too clean. There was the passes were on target, and that just makes our job really hard if we've got to chase around on clean passing around the perimeter.
That's the way Kevin talks. He's always going to pick apart certain things on defense that they could have done better. And I love that about him. But, he's talking about turnovers, and I asked him about that, and talking about, tipping the basketball your favor, and that leads to offense. So Kevin's doing a nice job. We're going to get a chance tonight, Chris, to watch the Dons play San Francisco. That is UNLV's next game, by the way. They play next Saturday against San Francisco.
Couple things, Brian. As far as the game against Washington State, look, we understand that this is a team that's going to hang their hat on the defensive side of the floor. No question about it, right? The entire season. Mm-hmm. But as you mentioned, as you alluded to, offensively, they're starting to come into their own. They're starting to establish go-to guys on this club. You talked about Harkless, obviously him along with Keyshawn Gilbert combined for 45 in that game against the Cougars on Saturday. You're getting contributions from the like of Webster off the bench. You're getting contributions from Milwaukee on that level as well too. And there's some other pieces as well that are chiming in from the offensive standpoint. So we know, defensively, they're going to come to play. It's about rounding things off offensively. As to the comments regarding, the quote unquote question and comparisons to the 1990 team, Brian, and the 2022 edition. The only similarities, and I mentioned this on with our friends Chris Magnum Chapman yesterday and Brian Feldman on their show yesterday morning. The only similarity between those two teams are they both have UNLV on their jersey. Yeah. All right. You're talking about one of the greatest, if not the greatest, college basketball team of all time that lost one game that season and went on to beat one of the more prominent college basketball programs in the country by 30 points in the national championship game, to a team here in 2022 that, yes, is 10-0, but you could argue doesn't necessarily have a signature win yet. Yes, you like the win over the Cougars in the Pac-12. You like a win over a team that's ranked in Dayton at the time they were ranked. Doesn't look as great of a win as of right now. And you like a win in California in the holiday tournament against the likes of a lower tier Big Ten team in Minnesota. Those are probably the three noticeable wins for UNLV so far this year. But we have yet, I think it's still, the jury's still out as far as how good this basketball team is going to be and how competitive they're going to be in the Mountain West Conference, and whether or not they can make some real noise when it comes to possible postseason action, given that this team has not played the postseason since, I believe, 2013 in that loss to Cal in the NCAA.
So I've been looking at the Mountain West Conference because we're getting very close to conference play,
right.
And I've been analyzing it, and I've watched some of these teams play, and I got to tell you, we don't have that 10th ranked team in the country or 15th ranked team in the country that we've had in years past. And then there's a big drop down. But what I like about the conference this year is there's a lot of parity and there's some good teams. San Diego State's a good basketball team. They're not as good maybe they've been in years past, but they have NBA talent, and I believe they have the best player in the conference. So San Diego State's pretty good. Boise State's pretty good basketball team, right? I mean, I could see them getting into the NCAA tournament. Yeah, so Leon Rice doing a good job. Boise State's pretty good basketball team. I was really impressed with Utah State, another undefeated team. I watched them play in Vegas. They played a pretty good Loyola Marymount team. And Utah State, they're very fundamentally sound. They're big. They play good defense, and they can score. Yep. So I think Utah State's another team with a second-year coach that can do some damage in the Mountain West Conference. And then I look at New Mexico.
With Mashburn playing in New Mexico.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about New Mexico. I'm really looking forward to watching them play in person tonight. And Coach Patino Jr. Is doing a pretty good job with this. Those are 4 pretty good basketball teams. And you put UNLV in the mix. Wyoming is not as good as they've been in years past. But I look at those are 4 or 5 pretty solid basketball teams. And you can make the argument any of those teams can win the conference tournament, right? I mean, obviously San Jose State's terrible. They're a joke. They've always been bad. And I was talking to Todd Simon a little bit about the Mountain West Conference as well. And then I look at Air Force. They're not very good. But that's still never an easy place to play on the road. But the Mountain West Conference is pretty good this year. A lot of parity in the conference. And I think it's going to be a very interesting year for the Mountain West Conference.
Well, let's be straight up and honest about it, right, Brian? When we're talking UNLV running Rebel basketball, let's put our cards on the table, right? Let's take a little deeper dive. All right. It's baby steps. It's about baby steps with this program. You and I have witnessed covering this team a lot of games on Wednesdays at 1:00 in the Mountain West play-in game, essentially.
Yeah, it's not
That's
fun.
what it's been.
Yeah.
That's what the late season has been for running Rebel basketball. So the only place to go is up. So the idea that, we're going to start because they're 10-0 now, are we going to start talking about them going to the NCAA tournament or the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8? I think is beyond.
But it is fair.
Right?
But it is fair on the other flip side of the coin. And by the way, the number to call 702-221-7283. It is fair to say that the way UNLV is playing, they can compete in the Mountain West Conference for a title. It is very possible, and I think that's a great thing. We're only a month into the season. To say that is a testament to Kevin Kruger, because I don't think we've said that in a very, very long time. They can compete for a championship this year, and I think that's a testament to the coaching staff. All right, let's go to the phone lines at 702-221-7283. Let's go to Fernando. Fernando, what's going on, man?
Fernando, what's up?
Hey, guys. Happy holidays. And, the Rebels are doing good right now, but still got to be San Diego State. You got to get schedule tougher teams, and I hope they do good. But you know what? Sister Jean's team, the Ramblers, would destroy the Rebels by 25. With our guards, our forwards, our center, our bench, would beat them easily.
25.
Easily.
I'd say 35 or 40. What are you talking about? 25. I'll take that spread in a heartbeat. I'll take the 25 minus 25.
Yeah, the Ramblers would destroy them easily, but we'll see what happens. Wake me up when the Rebels win a Mountain West regular season title. Wake me up.
Well, it could be a 5 or 6 year nap for you. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong on that one. Yeah, I don't know.
Fernando, Brian, we can always count on Fernando, right? To just take a wet cloth and just toss it on top of all things, whether it's UNLV, Raiders, right, Fernando?
Fernando, can I ask you a question?
Vegas team.
Fernando,
we always get his straight talk.
Fernando, straight talk. Fernando, let me ask you one question before you go. Fernando, I'm really concerned about Chris. He seems very strung out and stressed out. What do you think the best thing we can do to get him a little bit more relaxed? What do you suggest he does?
You got to get a massage and get a good foot massage. You know what I mean?
Let me tell you something. The proximity of the studios here at KSHP are very conducive to that type of situation.
All right, so listen. Here's what I'm going to do. I've had Bridget the Midget on this show before. I'm going to get her. I'm going to get her to come in studio and give Chris a foot massage live on the air. What do you think?
We're going to do this Howard Stern style.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
This and
the AVN Awards. Hey, the AVN Awards are coming to Las Vegas in January, Chris.
It's early January, by the way. I think it's like the 4th through the 7th. It's like the first week.
We're gonna have to get credentialed to that. Yeah. All right.
Let Bridget crawl over him.
I'll let her know. Hey, thanks for the call, Fernando.
Thanks, Fernando. Have a good
Appreciate it. I forgot about the AVN Awards coming to town.
Yeah,
I have to apply for credentials so that hopefully I don't get screwed out of those credentials because no one else wants. Literally and figuratively.
I don't think it's the same person for college basketball tournaments as it is for
probably not.
I'm going out on a limb there and saying that, but I don't think it's the same person, Brian.
Funny story. I'm going to share this with our listeners and Marquez. I think he's going to like the story. It's an AVN story. So it's the AVN Expo. And if you don't know what the AVN Expo is, when the AVN Awards come to town, they sell all their gadgets.
It's like a monster.
Use your imagination on that.
Yeah, huge trade show.
They got all the porn stars that are signing autographs, and you get to meet all these porn stars. And it's a little strange because you got a lot of people that are there that you'd think they'd never seen anybody naked before in their life. So it's a little strange. You've got a lot of people that could have starred in the show To Catch a Predator that are taking pictures. It's a little weird. I go there because I laugh at people. It's the atmosphere. It's fun. Anyway, so I go with Chris, right? And this was
probably 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years ago. So I'm taking pictures with all these famous female porn stars, right? And I don't know who they are. I'll be honest with you. Most of them, I know a couple. I don't know who they are. And Chris is taking pictures for me, and we're just having a great time. It's a lot of fun. And so we're about an hour into this thing, Mark, and I've taken pictures with maybe 10 to 15 porn stars, all women. He hasn't taken a picture with one person in an hour. And all of a sudden he looks at me and he grabs my shoulder and goes, Shep! I'm like, what? He's like, dude, that's Evan Stone. And I'm like, who's Evan Stone? I don't know who Evan Stone is. I guess he's a pretty famous male porn star. So Chris is like all giddy and he goes up to Evan and he takes this. I take the picture for him and they're shoulder to shoulder and he's like high-fiving him and he's really excited. And then a couple seconds pass and I'm laughing because it's funny. He comes up to me after he goes, dude, this is probably hurting my street credit because I haven't taken a picture with one female porn star yet.
I was all business though, Mark and PTL listeners out there. I was taking my professional photography, aspect of that day very seriously, and I was letting Shapiro take the pictures with all the porn stars.
By the way, I was wearing a shirt that said "Make America Nasty Again." That was the picture. That was the shirt that I was wearing. A lot of the porn stars liked it because they first look at it and they think I'm a Trump supporter, and then they realize it's a joke, and then they're like, "Oh no, he's cool." It was cool though. It is an interesting event.
It is. And
it's not at the Virgin this year. They switched it. It's at Resorts World.
Is it really?
They're having although if you go to Resorts World on a Friday or Saturday night, you would think that the AVN Awards were already there. I'll leave it at that. But that's
the atmosphere that we're talking about on weekends over there.
It's quite interesting, people watching. But it's going to be at Resorts World this year.
Okay.
It is like the Oscars for the porn industry. That's really what it is. I mean, this is serious. If you win an award for whatever scene you did, you get more money. Yeah, you get more money. It works like the Oscars. In fact, I would say some of these porn stars might be better actors than Tom Cruise. I'll be willing to go that far as well. I don't know, but
maybe Tom Cruise, but definitely not Brad Pitt.
Who is your favorite actor or actress? Is it Evan Stone? Really?
My favorite actress?
Yeah,
period?
adult. Yeah. I'm curious. No, adult
or actor.
Adult.
Wow, put me on the spot. I don't know. Do I have a favorite one?
Is it Evan Stone?
It's got to be Evan. It's got to be Evan because you got the personal connection. We've had Evan on the show. The multiple shows we've done.
Yes,
across the board. We've had him on. It's
funny story.
Evan.
We were doing when I was doing.
And by the way, those that don't know who are listening, he was big back in the 90s. You saw him all over.
Here's a funny story.
Skinamax or any of that stuff.
Skinamax.
It was all no.
So
seriously,
back when I was
all over that stuff.
Back when I was doing the Vegas take during COVID, we couldn't go in studio.
Right.
So we had to.
We had him in my living
well,
room.
I was getting to that. Yeah, we had to do the show from my.
Sorry to steal your thunder.
Yeah, from my 1-bedroom apartment. I'm a storyteller. We were doing the show from my 1-bedroom apartment, and we wanted to change a venue. So we said, let's go to Chris's house.
Yeah.
And it was a little more spacious. And he's got this leopard couch there, right?
Oh,
and I hit up
beautiful.
I hit up Evan Stone. I said, Evan, you want to come do the show with us? And he said, sure. What's your address? And I gave out Chris's address. And Evan Stone just rolls right into your house, sitting on your leopard couch, and doing the show with us. It was an interesting show.
And how textbook is that, Brian? You have Evan Stone. It would be a little bit more weird if it was, say, Dina Titus or like a politician, right, or somebody that was more distinguished sitting on my leopard couch. But it was Evan Stone, so it seemed like it was perfect.
Yeah,
right?
Evan. So here's a funny story. Evan was going to come on this show a few months ago, and he's dating Katie Morgan, who's a very famous female porn star. So Katie, I wanted him to bring Katie as well. Mm-hmm. So I sent him a text, and he was ready to come on. I said, hey, can you bring Katie as well? And he got all angry at me. He's like, I'm not coming in. If you want Katie, you can go through her agent. Like, he got all offended.
Well, you know why, Brian, right? You know why? Because it probably happens to him all the time. Because Katie's a much bigger star than Evan is. So you know that happens all the time. Right, Brian, where people want to get to her.
Yeah.
So
show's almost over. We got another call. John, I got about 30 seconds for you, my friend. Go right ahead.
Hey, man, Chris, I got to get this straight, man.
Yeah.
Brian asked you who your favorite porn actor or actress is, and you say Evan Stone.
Well, look, it's kind of on the spot. I probably he mentioned Katie Morgan, who was Evan's partner. I'd probably say Katie for all intents and purposes.
I'm dying.
It was on the spot, John. What do you want?
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. But hey, clearly the greatest porn star of all time is Charmaine Starr. Come on, we can agree on that, no?
I don't even know who that is. That's what's crazy. See, I don't even
know
who that is.
Charmaine Starr? Come on,
I don't know who that is, John. I don't know.
Look,
full disclosure, my friend, I'm not a connoisseur or an expert on porn, to be honest with you. I'm not saying I've never watched it because I watch a ton of it, but I'm not someone who like can take that necessary deep dive into the individuals that are in the industry. I'm not that guy.
But apparently,
But
apparently, Chris is
the
the guy.
producer needs to ship this segment off to the Radio Hall of Fame right away.
I agree. John, thanks for calling in, my friend. I appreciate it. John does make a valid point. The one porn star, he's his favorite porn star is not a female, which is fine. It's Evan Stone. I just want to mark that down. This will be put on social media. What was the other moment? Oh yeah, when you knocked over the camera with your hand movements. That's going to be put on Twitter today too.
That was top notch, right
Chris,
there.
thanks for coming in as always. Appreciate it.
Lunch, have a good week, everybody.
Yes, lunch on me, my friend. And tomorrow on the show, we got Michelle Mortensen. Wow, you want to talk about a controversial figure. The man who was pardoned by the former president of the United States, Roger Stone, is going to be joining us on the show tomorrow. Oh, it's going to get interesting.
You got to get
folks.
video of that, Brian,
We will.
Roger has some interesting outfits.
He does. Mark, thanks always for your help. We will see you all tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody.